words from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., spoken in February 1967. It is not enough to say we must not wage war. It is necessary to love peace and sacrifice for it. We must concentrate not merely on the negative expulsion of war, but the positive affirmation of peace. We light our chalice today for more than resistance, although resistance is needed. We light our chalice today in recognition of the power we have to connect and learn, to create and to love. I invite you to rise in body or spirit and join in singing a fantastic combination of "Oh, We Give Thanks" and "Come and Go With Me."
Hi, All Souls. And welcome to All Souls Church Unitarian. My name is Saul Ujoa. My pronouns are they, them, and he, him, and I'm serving as your worship associate today. We gather at All Souls in person or on Zoom, accepting each other and ourselves as we are today, where we greet and embrace all gender identities, sexual orientations, abilities, and disabilities, economic backgrounds, ages, races, creeds, and religions, where all people are welcome at this table of love and fellowship. We gather to celebrate our successes with others or to seek comfort when in pain. We gather to be present with ourselves and others on this day that has been given to us. If this is your first time, or if you still feel new here, maybe you could raise your hand or let folks know in the Zoom chat so that we can give you an All Souls welcome. Are there any visitors here today? I'm so glad you could join us today, and welcome to All Souls. I now turn your attention to the connection card enclosed in your order of service or posted in the chat. The connection card is our means of staying connected with you. Each week, it will offer new opportunities for us to stay connected with each other. We want to know how you're doing, support your engagement with this community, and make communicating with us easier for you. If you want to tap into the lifeblood of this congregation, you will want to subscribe to our weekly newsletter as well. On your connection card, under your email is a box for you to opt in. You can consider the invitations on the card throughout the service, and our ushers will collect them during the offering. We particularly appreciate visitors filling in your mailing address so that we can send you a gift. We're so happy you joined us here today. And we pause today to honor the Piscataway people who have stewarded the waters and lands of this region now known as Washington, D.C., for generations. We acknowledge the painful reality of their dispossession, the enslaved peoples whose lives were exploited in the making of this city, and the ongoing legacy of imperialism and colonialism. This truth calls us to accountability and action. As we, as All Souls, build community rooted in justice, may we commit to supporting Indigenous sovereignty and creating a world where we all thrive. Together, may we turn the reality of harm into action for repair, and fostering relationships that resist erasure and uplift our shared humanity. In our world that's often overtaken with violence, we intentionally take a moment to covenant together, to give voice to what draws us together, and to renew the values to which we pledge ourselves. So please sit in reflection, or rise in body or in spirit, and join me in reciting our Sunday covenant. Please rise if you're able. Love is a spirit of our people, and service is our call to build the beloved community, to seek fuller truths in love, to dwell together in peace, to offer aid and affirmation, and to tend to our mutual well-being. This is our covenant. I now invite you to remain standing if you're already up, or rise as you are able, and greet one another here in person or on Zoom.
He had a dream of a world free of hatred and anger. He had a dream of a love beyond race, creed, or color. He had a dream and he gave it to me. What will I do with it? Who will I be?
I've got to stand up, shout and be heard. I've got to let my heart guide my words. I've got to steady my feet and say, what would it be like if you were king for a day?
He had a dream that all violence would one day be ended.
His dream, our dream.
He had a dream that our world torn apart would be mended.
His dream, our dream.
He had a dream for you and for me. What will we do with it? Who will we be?
We got to stand up, shout and be heard. We got to let our heart guide our words. We got to steady our feet and say, what would it be like if you were king for a day? Would you feed those who hunger, refresh those who thirst? Would you welcome the stranger and comfort the sick? Would you clothe the naked and set captives free? Would you work for justice to bring about peace? Would you hope for the future, unsure what it brings? Would you have the courage to dream your own He had a dream that someday we'd be here singing together. He had a dream and we're making it happen together.
He had a dream for you and for me. What will we do with it? Who will we be?
We gotta stand up, shout and be heard. We gotta let our heart guide our words. We gotta steady our feet and say, what would it be like if you were king for a day? King for a
As our choir takes their seats, I'm going to invite my young friends to come forward. This is our Wonder Box, and it represents all the things we wonder about, the things that are curiosities, the things that we are puzzled by, the things that we want to discover. I wonder what's in our Wonder Box this morning. Would someone be willing to open it and pull out what's inside? Perfect. Here. What does it say?
Wonder can't always fit in a box.
Wonder can't always fit in a box. That is true. I wonder what's in the sanctuary this morning that isn't normally here. What is this doing here? A bucket. What do you think might go in this bucket? The note could go in here. Yeah, what else could go in here? Water could go in. What else? Lemon juice. Yeah, what else? Dirt. A tiny piano. That would be miraculous. Yes. Food. I'm still really wondering about the tiny piano that would go in here and if it would make music. I'm going to be thinking about that for a long time. All right, I'm going to tell a story because those were all really great answers. Who thought those were great answers? But it's reminding me of a friend called Higgins. Now, Higgins was a water drop, but he was not just any water drop. He was a drop with a dream. And he lived far above this valley. And he, like in the clouds, right? Because sometimes water drops, that's where they hang out. And he was looking down at this valley, and he had remembered a time when there were all these mountain flowers who had been growing there, reds and yellows and purples and pinks, and it was so, so, so beautiful. But this valley wasn't like that anymore. It had turned kind of tawny, straw-colored, and it was all that kind of light brown without the different colors. And he thought, this valley is not as beautiful as I remember it to be. It seems really thirsty. And as he looked down upon the valley, he could almost feel its thirst, like, please, would someone just give us water? Please, we want to grow again. Please, we want to be beautiful. And so he looked, and he was like, I want to water that valley. But he thought, I'm just one drop. So he talked to the other drops up in the air, and he said, do you want to come down and fall with me? And the other drops were like, nah. Some of the drops said, I want to go. If we just wait for the wind, it will push us right over that giant mountain range just to the west, and there we will fall and become the snowy peaks as close to the sky as anything on earth. We want to be the highest. And he goes, not the lowest in the valley? No, the highest. Another drop said, no, we're waiting for a wind to blow us east, out to the mighty ocean. We want to join the majority. And he goes, you don't want to just go where you feel called to go, to where there's great need? And they said, no, we want to join where everyone else wants to go. Higgins felt more alone than ever. But he could not ignore the thirst of the valley. And he saw that there had been someone, some maybe UU minister had gone camping and forgot to pick up her bucket when she left. And he thought, maybe I'm just one little drop, but maybe if we gather together in that bucket, we could, be enough to water at least a little area. And so he chose. He made a choice. He moved from thinking about something or frustrated about something and decided to take action. So down he fell right into the bucket with a plink. And his sound of that plink was so exciting that some of his other friends were like, well, I'd like to be musical too. And so down they fell. Plink, 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 plink. And the bucket got fuller. And so then more of them joined. And they began to fill up that bucket up high and began to fill the whole area like they were many, many buckets, So full until when the wind came, because it was going to. Can we make a wind together? A bigger wind. And the water poured out like a mighty stream, and beauty was restored to the valley. And so even though Higgins was just a drop in the bucket, he was able to convince others to join him and bring life back to the valley. And so I invite us to think about where we feel called to bring life and who we will encourage to join us. May we think about that as you go to do your service projects today, or return and sit with your families. Let us sing Sia Hamba as they do that. Sia Hamba.
No answer to the bucket.
Good morning, All Souls. Good morning. Good morning. My name is Tracy Hughes Trotter. My pronouns are she, her. I'm the executive director here at All Souls, and I'm happily serving as your liturgist this morning. You may want to take a moment to pull out your connection card that looks like this, the hot pink card in your order of service. As you hear of an upcoming opportunity, you can express your interest with the check mark. You can also share how you are doing and ask for congregational or pastoral care. Because we are striving to build and strengthen beloved community, our common read on repentance and repair is on repentance and repair. You can learn more and sign up for a discussion group by clicking the QR code in your order of service. The group discussions will begin in February and March. Wednesday noon is the deadline to weigh in on the courtyard design. You can do so in person in the Reed lobby, to my right, your left, or on the church's website. A big shout out for the craft and bake sale this year. The Made by UU craft and bake sale raised $7,000 for All Souls, yes. A huge thank you to all who made the sale a success. Over 40 people donated items for sale, and many more purchase items at the craft and bake sale. All proceeds go to the Hope Rises annual fund. As you know, tomorrow begins a new presidential administration, and you have an opportunity to turn your anxiety into action and your fear into resilience. All are welcomed and encouraged to celebrate radical inclusion on January 25th at the Solidarity Sing here at All Souls. So you can bring everyone you can, bring your friends, bring your family, bring your neighbors, round up people as you're coming from the metro, bring them here to the sanctuary where we will raise our voices against oppression. Yes. There will be a congregational meeting on developmental ministry progress in the 25-26 financial year budget. The All Souls Board of Trustees and your executive team, Reverend Anastasia and I, invite you to the special mid-year participatory congregational meeting on February 2nd from 12:30 to 2:30 in the sanctuary and on Zoom. Childcare will be available during this meeting. Finally, you all know we're getting another snowstorm. And all after-service events today will be canceled out of care for our community and our staff. The church will close at 1 o'clock today, but you can feel free to grab some coffee or tea by 12:45 so that our staff may close the building. And now is the time that we turn to the joys and concerns of the world and our congregation. The firing has stopped in Gaza, but the war has not. We recognize that political solutions are fragile and wholly insufficient if true peace is not the goal. We send prayers, strength, and hope to Sharina Kotelis Payne's sister Shauna, who is going through an acute crisis brought on by mental health vulnerabilities and substance addiction issues. The medical system has in many ways failed to provide adequate and necessary care to support her. The family is having trouble holding on to hope and know that they are not unique in what they are facing. They appreciate our community's support and prayers. We send peace and strength to longtime All Souls member Mary Rojas, who served on the board and on the Ministerial Search Committee in 2001. Mary has been diagnosed with a brain tumor and is now in hospice care. She welcomes cards but is not up to phone calls or visits at this time. And we are sending light and love to Bob Whittick this morning. His sister Ann Whittick transitioned this week after a long illness. Friends, I now invite you to lift up the names of those you are carrying on your hearts today. You may speak them aloud or enter them in the chat if you are on Zoom. Will you pray with me? Spirit of life, thank you for this community of faith that holds at its core a recognition of our interdependence, our shared connection that honors care for one another, means care for our neighbors and our country, even when they don't love us back. And because love is the source of our faith, it is also the source of our strength. It gives us the courage to stand against injustice, to see clearly in uncertain times, and to always claim the light when we find ourselves surrounded by the darkness of hatred and intolerance. As we celebrate the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. against the backdrop of the rising threat of fascism and intolerance, remember that we have the power to overcome it. Dear ones, when fear knocks at our door, we shall answer with faith. We shall answer with resilience. We shall answer with courage. May that be so. Amen. So reading by Atena Danner called Every Storm Runs Out of Rain. The storm don't steer the ship. Storms may push it, toss it, rock it, roll it, crack it, even sink it. But it takes a knowing mind and guiding sense to steer a ship towards safety. It takes a memory of the harbor haven to guide a body soaked with fear, pushing against the wind. It takes faith to hold out for the storm, to run out of rain. The storm don't steer the ship. Storms may push it, toss it, rock it, roll it, crack it, even sink it. But it takes a knowing mind and guiding sense to steer a ship towards safety. It takes a memory of the harbor haven to guide a body soaked with fear, pushing against the wind. It takes faith to hold out for the storm, to run out of rain.
Thank you, Tracy. I will admit that I do not go to as many rallies as I used to. For a variety of reasons, I think it's okay for tactics to change over time and to recognize that different tactics appeal to different people. That said, I did go to the People's March yesterday. How many folks were there? It was a much smaller crowd than 8 years ago, for sure, but tens of thousands of people is still a lot of people. I was wearing this stole, which says "Side with Love," in the bright yellow of the Unitarian Universalist Association's Side with Love campaign. Saw 10 or 15 folks from All Souls, and I met people from probably about 25 different Unitarian Universalist congregations, most from the area, but some as far away as Oklahoma and Florida. Our UU contingent met at Farragut Square, 17th and K, and the march itself went down 17th Street and then turned right on the National Mall. I underestimated how powerful it would feel to be walking on the mall, especially towards the Lincoln Memorial, on the eve of Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday and the inauguration of Donald Trump. Perhaps the most simple and poignant sign I saw yesterday had a picture of MLK with just 3 words: "Worst birthday ever." The flyer that some of you got with your order of service and will be around at the doors afterward is also linked in the worship email this morning, includes an invitation to a great way to honor King's birthday, which is through an interfaith worship service and moral mass meeting online tomorrow starting at 7 p.m. President of the Unitarian Universalist Association, Reverend Dr. Sophia Betancourt, will be one of the speakers. But back to yesterday's march. As the processional turned west onto the mall, we had to make our way around the World War II memorial. The center of the memorial was blocked off, and the vast majority of marchers were directed to the wide stone paths that line either side of the mall. But there was enough room for a small stream of us, just 2 or 3 people across, to walk around the outer circle within the memorial itself. It was incredibly present for me that the soldiers who gave their lives in that war were fighting fascism and racism and autocracy. They were not all liberal or progressive, to be sure. And yet the masses of the American people at that time we're united against the deeply problematic beliefs and practices that are about to be inaugurated for a second term today. So that's the question I want to focus on. How do we acknowledge this reality, the real fear, without getting stuck there? There is no denying that we have work to do to protect vulnerable people in our community, especially people who are undocumented and or transgender. For many of these folks, the stakes are incredibly high. Trump has said he wants immigration raids to start almost immediately. 8 years ago, All Souls helped to launch a large interfaith coalition dedicated to migrant solidarity with more than 70 institutional members. Now known as CAN, the Congregational Action Network, they remain one of our closest organizing partners. They are planning a massive scaling up of both Know Your Rights trainings and emergency preparedness trainings, helping families and networks to make plans in the terrible event that someone is caught in a raid. The most important and terrible part of these plans is preparing for how to care for and tell the children whose parents are not coming home that day, or maybe ever. It is awful, and it is real. We have been, and we must take action. All Souls Migrant Solidarity Team, or MST, has been among the strongest and most active social justice ministries over the past 8 years. They meet before worship at 9 a.m. the first Sunday of every month. Their next meeting is listed on the flyer as well. Their work is obviously more important than ever, and they would love to have more of you join them. Now, in the coming 4 years, we're going to face a lot of real threats that require action, and we are going to face a lot of potential distractions. I sincerely believe that there will be a constant barrage of ridiculous and probably offensive ideas coming from the president and the administration. We can react to these, yes, but we also have to let them go. If we let ourselves be hooked by these, if we go down those rabbit holes, we're going to end up feeling like a tennis ball in a dryer. Bunk, 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 bunk. It will be an endless cycle that is simply not good for any of us. We have to figure out how to stay focused and grounded. So what does that look like? Here is where it starts. We have to claim the power we do have, because 1, we do have power, and 2, we can build a lot more. If being a tennis ball in a dryer or a moth to a light describes one end of the spectrum for how we might react, at the other end of the spectrum is to focus on what we know works. We come back to it often here at All Souls. In my view, we can't come back to it enough, and that's relationships. Relationships are the building blocks of our institutions, and the foundational premise of community organizing, which I support 100%, is that relationships are power. Now, the toxic form of this is the old boys network, technically known as oligarchy, where a small group maintains and exercises power and control for their own benefit. The liberating form knows that power shared is power multiplied. Now, earlier I spoke of how tactics change. During the first Trump presidency, mass gatherings and public declarations felt right to a lot of people, and they happened. The 2017 Women's March was massive, close to 500,000 people. And there were countless declarations of places being a sanctuary city or a sanctuary congregation and so on. But the environment is different now. Yesterday's People's March had thousands, yes, but less than 10% of its predecessor. And given the many risks and challenges involved, I honestly haven't heard much focus on creating big public statements. Bill Mefford, executive director of the Festival Center, close partner organization just down the road on Columbia Road, put it this way. He said, our focus this time has to be a lot more granular. We have to work on strengthening a sense of relationship, welcome, and support throughout our communal life. We need to make more connections between neighbors. We need to connect secular nonprofits and congregations and values-aligned businesses. I thought he came up with this metaphor, but he said it was me, but either way, here it is. We need to be like Velcro. We all know why Velcro is strong, right? Because there are so many connections. Consider that 1 foot of Velcro Ultramate, so this is 12 inches by 12 inches, that's about 1 foot, has an average of 118,800 hooks in it. When you have that many connections, the workload is spread out. And it's okay if some of those hooks don't work sometimes, when people need to take the rest they deserve. And so that's one thing I think we need to do, to be like Velcro and make as many small but strong connections as possible. The other is to be more intentional about both learning and creativity, which are deeply intertwined. And one of the conclusions that I keep running into in myriad places is that so much of how we act in the world, even in friendly spaces, is impacted by our experiences with trauma. And it's not just the major capital T trauma that is easy to recognize. There are so many small, unseen ways that it manifests. And the less we understand it, the more likely it is that we replicate it in how we go about our days. Acting from trauma brings trauma. And so when trauma is unaddressed, it limits and distorts our dreams of what's possible for the future. Now, this may feel a lot to take on. It's deep work, no doubt, but here's something that gives me a lot of optimism. It's connected to and will help many of the things that we're already doing or hoping to do. Many of the principles and practices of transformative justice that we've been working on here for years are about helping us identify and manage trauma in better ways. The common read we're doing is about trauma and repair and practices. In late February, All Souls will enter a new chapter of our work on reparations as we host a film screening and get connected to both local and national leaders who are excited to work with us. And the principles and skills of this work can benefit us in all spheres of our lives, our personal self-awareness, how we engage conflict with each other, like here at All Souls, with our family members, and of course, how we make change in our world. This is, in Dr. King's words, the positive affirmation of peace. The next 4 years are not going to be a time that we can make a lot of progress in legislatures and courts. So let's use this time to dig into the deep learning and skills building, to dig into the positive sources of power that we can control. Now, along with different tactics being more or less relevant at various times, it's also true that there are many different kinds of skills needed to build strong congregations, communities, and movements. One of my favorite signs from yesterday read, quote, "So bad, even introverts are here." And I know this. There are plenty of folks in this world who care passionately about justice and liberation, but who don't really like people. It's okay, I see you. There are so many ways to contribute. People who can make and manage spreadsheets and data can be incredibly helpful. People who like to make food have a great contribution to make. Maybe these folks can work together and learn how to make spread sheet cake. Now that phenomenal joke aside, this is a time to be creative and collaborative in new ways. I love the fact that Keith programmed several mashup songs for us to sing today. And last Friday, I helped put together an event with 6 organizations in DC that have never partnered together before because unprecedented threats call for unprecedented levels of collaboration. So whatever your skills, there is a place for you. Whatever you'd like to learn, there's a way to learn it. So how do you want to grow this year? How are you going to claim some power for yourself? All right, I want to close with one other aspect of power that we can control related to relationships and to community. So here's a quick story. I was riding my bike last summer, and though I'm a fairly outgoing person, I tend not to talk to people very much while I'm riding. It's just not the zone that I'm in. By far the person I've talked to the most while riding is Eileen Finlay. And that's probably only 2 or 3 times. Anyway, I was crossing a street by a worker who was finishing a major sidewalk upgrade project. I wasn't really paying attention to him or the project, but of course it's important to look both ways before crossing the street. So I did look in his direction, and when I did, he happened to look up at that exact moment, and our eyes met. He was Latino, with a weathered face and look in his eyes of someone who had had both a hard day and likely a hard life. Without really thinking, I feel like the words just kind of fell out of my mouth. I said, "It looks really good," and gestured to the sidewalk. He turned away from me, and I thought that maybe he didn't understand me or he just didn't want to deal with some random white dude talking to him, which is understandable. But when he turned back, his facial expression was completely different. He had a big smile, his eyes had a happy glow, and with pride he said, "Yeah, it does look really good, doesn't it?" Now, y'all, I absolutely know that we cannot solve the world's problems with interpersonal exchanges. We need organizing, we need action, and it still matters how we treat each other. I think the conventional wisdom is right, that if we put more fear into the world, we get more fear. And if we put more love into the world, we get more love. But it turns out that there's actually a scientific basis for this as well. This past Tuesday, the entire All Souls staff received training on active bystander intervention and de-escalation tactics from a group called the DC Peace Team. The trainer was one of the organization's founders, a professor of peace studies at Georgetown named Eli McCarthy. In our training, McCarthy said that our brains contain something called a mirror neuron. Their discovery was only relatively recent in the 90s, but the basic premise is that the neuron fires in response to an activity regardless of whether it's us doing it or someone else. Related to de-escalation, this means that having a calm approach can physiologically help other people to calm down because of how our brains work. The same is true with other emotions: care, welcome, solidarity, love. There's an active bystander intervention and de-escalation training here after church on February 9th that is open to everyone here, and we will offer them regularly going forward. Let's put what we want out into the world and claim the power that we do have. The storm The storm don't steer the ship. The storm don't steer the ship. Say it with me. The storm don't steer the ship. It takes faith to hold out for the storm to run out of rain. Amen.
I have a lot to chew on after hearing that, reading the song and the sermon, and I hope you do as well. So I now invite you, the congregation, to turn your attention to the reflection questions on your connection card. My question today is, what's something you want to contribute to the community and or learn in the coming year? As music plays, you are invited into this place of contemplation and reflection as you fill out your card, pray, meditate, or dream. On March 10th, 2023, and I do know the exact date because I kept the text, a friend from Young Souls named Willis texted me asking if I could help the Migrant Solidarity team to help move a family into the new apartment. They needed extra hands to carry furniture and other belongings, and I immediately responded with an enthusiastic yes. So the next morning, I joined 9 or 10 other All Souls members to welcome this family into the new home. It was physical work, but it was done with joy, love, and a shared commitment to creating a world where everyone belongs. I wasn't a regular part of the Migrant Solidarity team, but being part of the larger All Souls community inspired me to jump in, respond with that enthusiastic yes, and help because I knew we shared similar values and commitment to justice. And importantly, I trusted the work they were doing. Our UU values call us to grapple honestly with injustice, take accountability for harm, and widen our circle of welcome. They call us to dream of and fight for a better future. And this community, while imperfect, is defined by its resilience and its commitment to building the beloved community. Whether through our Pantry for All Souls, the REAB Project, the Beckner Fund, the 8 Team, the Haywa Peace Project, Migrant Solidarity Team, Souls to Palestine, or countless other initiatives that I unfortunately have not named, and I'm sorry, we come together in solidarity during difficult times to create the world we long to see. So, as the plates pass you by today, I invite you to reflect on the impact this church has had on your life and the impact you want us to have on our wider community and the world. In the spirit of solidarity, half of today's offering will support the Latin American Youth Center, which empowers youth through innovative programs that address their social, academic, and career needs. All Souls has a long tradition of supporting their good work, and we're proud to do so again today. So together, let's turn fear into fuel, transforming hope into action, and building a more just and compassionate world. If you're in the sanctuary, the ushers will be passing the plate for our offering. You can also text to All Souls by sending ASCU to 73256. If you're on Zoom, click the link in the chat, which will direct you to All Souls online giving. The offering will now be collected and graciously received.
invite you to share in the music making, to rise in body or spirit, and sing our closing mashup of hymns.
May it be so.